Write that down, Fumi Saito. Write that down, Fumi Saito.
Hello from Burbank, California. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Once again, another episode, Write That Down, on the Fight Game Media Network. Happy holidays, everyone. I hope everyone's enjoying, relaxing, recovering. I'm Justin Knipper. I edit for FightGameMedia.com, staff writer F4W Online WrestlingObserver.com. I also work for Pro Wrestling Noah and Cyberfight. And this week, we don't have a typical episode for you. We have an archived special edition episode for you from the Fight Game Media Patreon. Last year, around September, Fumi and I did an episode focused on the Three Musketeers of New Japan. That would be who? That would be Shinya Hashimoto, Masahiro Chono, and Keiji Muto, who is retiring 55 days from the day I record this. How exciting, how topical, excellent. If you haven't heard it before, please enjoy. And if you like more of this archived footage, you can access it via the Fight Game Media Patreon on Patreon. You know what I mean? Okay. By the way, if you have not already, please subscribe to the Fight Game Media Network podcast feed. Wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Downcast, it helps us very much, so please do so if you haven't already. And before we start this Three Musketeers episode, I just want to say thanks to everybody. Let's have a great new year, 2023.
But we can talk about, we were going to talk about Three Musketeer today.
Yeah.
Which was 90s superstar into millennium. Three Musketeers, Keiji Muto, Masahiro Chono, and Shinya Hashimoto.
That's
And,
right.
Yeah, some of these, today's fans are not so familiar with this. If there was no Three Musketeer era, you wouldn't have 21st century New Japan or 21st Noah or 21st century All Japan. You know what I'm saying? These guys are really important.
Yeah, it took, the 1980s, they could say they belonged to Antonio Inoki, but Inoki wasn't around as much throughout the 90s. The 90s were these three for New Japan.
As of 1990, he became politician and gave his booking job to Riki Choshu.
Mhm.
And Riki Choshu and Fujinami were still active, but they weren't going to headline New Japan. So they developed Three Musketeers. It's like, yeah, still Inoki's pupil, but generation younger than Choshu and Fujinami. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All three of them, Muto, Hashimoto, Chono, they all debuted the same year, class of 1984. Same dojo, that system. And they had an audition the same day, and they had same amount of time at dojo. And in fact, Muto's debut match was against Chono, another rookie,
Mm-hmm.
And a week before that, Hashimoto debuted against Tatsutoshi Goto, but the same class. And what's important is, though, that when they debuted in September of 1984, New Japan was pretty much skeleton.
Okay.
It was right after Akira Maeda, Nobuhiko Takada, the original Tiger Mask Sayama, the Yoshiaki Fujiwara, all these original UWF, like 10, 12 guys left New Japan, right? Then Riki Choshu's guys, like Yoshiaki Yatsu, the Animal Hamaguchi, the Kuniaki Kobayashi, the Killer Khan, all those guys, 15 guys, all left New Japan. So two groups already left. And all they got was Inoki and Sakaguchi and Fujinami, Kengo Kimura. That's about it. And you would think, they're in jeopardy, right?
You would think so. They'd have no big stars or not.
But
it's not as fresh as what's going on.
Yeah, it's slightly aged Inoki and Fujinami. Choshu's guys left. Maeda's guys left. But actually, they weren't bummed out. That Keiji Muto, Masahiro Chono, Hashimoto sitting in the dojo at night. They were saying, actually, it's great. We'll be on TV next week. That was that kind of rookie, you know. In Japanese dojo system, they'll be like so polite, and the senpais and elderly, and so you'll be washing your seniors' clothing, or you be washing dishes and sweeping up the dojo and all those. They did that too, but they were like a so new breed. That's you know what? This is great. We're gonna be on TV right away, and that's how Muto looked at the business from the beginning. Yeah. And it's very interesting.
Early on, he was the first one he went overseas pretty early.
Yeah, 1 year after 1 year after debut, he was already sent to Florida, and spent a year in Florida, and he will come back with new costume and then new nickname and the longer hair and all these things and new finish, all these. Yeah, he was sent, to Florida. And trained again under Hiro Matsuda, and actually he trained with people like Lex Luger, and right. He came back as a space lone wolf, Keiji Muto, with this blue costume and a silver jacket and full face helmet and all these things. Yeah, and right away, Chono was sent to to Europe. Then after that, Hashimoto was sent to Calgary. Yeah, they all developed. When you come back a year later, you'll be in the main event cluster. They're all ready to do so. But they're talented, all big, like a real big size rookie. And who was other classmate was a young 15-year-old Masakatsu Funaki. Later on, he debuted with New Japan, then goes to second version of UWF, then comes back, and he after that he goes to Fujiwara Gumi. Then he creates Pancrase with his friend Minoru Suzuki. Yeah. And another classmate was Akira Nogami. A little bit later on, he becomes freelancer too. And so the 5 guys, Muto, Chono, Hashimoto, young Funaki, and Akira Nogami. Yeah, 5 of them. And a lot of people think Liger was in the same class, but actually Liger and Sano and Hata was a year before. Liger, that Keiichi Yamada, he debuted 83 instead of 84. It's been mixed.
Now, is it true that Funaki was originally supposed to be Jushin Liger, the character, before he left?
I don't think so.
Because that's always been the buzz or the rumor, is that it was Funaki who was chosen, but he left with the UWF crew, so then it went to...
I kind of don't think so, because Liger's size, I don't know where it came from, but I don't think there was that Funaki was candidate for that,
Well, he went on his own path. He led a very different path from the Three Musketeers.
Yeah, more MMA-ish. Yeah.
Kind of paving the road.
Yeah. Funaki was the original Sayama's big fan growing up, of course. When he was 9th grade, he was able to do every single Sayama's move at home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, some kids try to emulate, wrestling moves on your matless, right? Or on your bed.
Of course.
Or on your futons, Then Funaki was able to do every single Sayama's move at home when he was 8th grade, 9th grade. But a lot of kids did that, including people like Ultimate Dragon, But Yamada, the Liger, Keiichi Yamada was the only candidate, I believe. Yeah. He was pretty much a star without mask.
He wasn't he? Yeah, he was.
He was already becoming a star.
And he
was sent to
England?
Europe, England as a flying Fuji Yamada. Then went to Calgary and spent another 6-7 months there. And he came back as Keiichi Yamada, and he was working without mask too.
He looked like the Japanese Dynamite Kid. He really did.
Yes.
The Japanese
trunks,
version.
Red tights, yeah.
And huge upper body.
Huge upper body, kind of short, but huge upper body and good wrestler and intense, right? Real intense. Yeah.
Very likable too. Very charismatic.
Oh, total babyface. Total babyface. At the time, young Funaki not the Masakazu yet. It was a Masaharu Funaki, the real name.
Mm.
Masaharu Funaki and Keiichi Yamada had a opening tag team kind of combination for a while. Yeah, it works as a tag team a little bit.
They both had pretty interesting, but also very different career
Different
paths.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it was not really Yamada's choice to become Jushin Thunder Liger. It was conjunction with the animation series Jushin Liger's season premiere, season first, and the real wrestler, somebody is gonna be Liger, at the Tokyo Dome, and TV Asahi's animation series Jushin Liger and the wrestler Jushin Liger will debut together, animation and wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It was 1989, and actually the animation version of Jushin Liger only lasted one season, all of 26 episodes. So wrestler Liger outlived animation version of Jushin Liger by what, 30 years?
Couple decades.
Yeah. He was, so I think at the end, wrestler Jushin Thunder Liger was a lot more famous than this animation ever was. Yeah. But it was initially it was like kind of like a Tiger Mask idea, very famous, popular animation series. They, TV Asahi wanted to have real wrestler doing that too at the same time, and Keiichi Yamada at the time was the perfect candidate. Yeah,
it's rare that works. It usually doesn't often work.
Animation's better,
or just if you go see a company and they're trying to. There's a AAA is doing the Marvel character kind of thing right now, or I saw that
Tiger Mask, and Jushin Liger is the only ones that work. There was actually a couple more failed attempts that I forgot all about and escaping me. Yeah.
I do remember seeing Kota Ibushi as one of the newer Tiger Masks. That was really brief.
It was a one-time deal though. One-time deal.
Okay.
Yeah, one-shot deal.
Just for the
but
debut.
They've done different Tiger Masks, to Sayama's Tiger Mask, to Misawa's Tiger Mask, to Kanemoto's Tiger Mask, to now the fourth Tiger Mask guy is still here, and then there's other failed attempt of like a comic book character becoming wrestler, and there's quite a few that didn't quite make it. So we should only remember Tiger Mask and Jushin Liger. And then the reason they put Thunder in the middle is that New Japan and Yamada owns this, Jushin Thunder Liger. See, the original animation series simply Jushin Liger that belongs to Go Nagai, the original the animation creator. So there's actually the design and other things is slightly different, but you're not supposed to notice these things.
Yeah,
Did you know that?
Is it kind of like when somebody's in WWE and they have the one name, but when they leave because WWE owns a certain this spelling of the name? Or
today we talk about Daniel Bryan and Bryan Danielson. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
New Japan had their own version of the name that belonged to them. It was theirs, and they could profit from that in their way.
Of course.
And it's good because, Liger stuck around.
I mean, a lot longer than the animation series.
Yeah,
much longer. And more famous too. Because who was inside that mask.
Yeah.
So talented. Yamada, very, very, very exceptionally talented wrestler.
We'll have to come back and focus on him one day. Well, just do his episode that's just on him.
These can you imagine Thunder Liger that the Takuma Sano or very young Rera high school Asai, who later on becomes Ultimate Dragon, Muto, Chono, Hashimoto, little bit later on Minoru Suzuki and Masakatsu Funaki, they're all living under the same roof in the dojo system.
A lot
Can you
of
imagine?
Very distinct personalities.
Yeah, but there's other half dozen guys who didn't make it though. You know what I'm saying? Living in the same room. I mean, not the room, but the same house. So we're talking about those very, very talented people come out of the New Japan dojo around the same time period. But there was a half dozen guys who walked out.
They couldn't
you're
make
not
it through
supposed
the dojo system.
or that the training was so hard that they when they woke up they were gone sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They escape in the
Give
middle
up.
of the night. Yeah. But you're not supposed to remember those people. I mean, yeah. Or some of these people actually later on popped up in another independent scene, a little bit later on. They didn't give up, and then they became their own person in their own right. So I can respect that,
Sure.
Yeah.
But
that was the big, the New Japan dojo class. Yeah. And Muto, Hashimoto, Chono, and Funaki were and Nogami were the classmates. Yeah. They shaved their hair in the very first week, and you're supposed to look all the same. You're not supposed to be able to distinguish all these, rookies, and they just go into training. They train you.
Like a military style boot camp.
I guess, yeah. And then the first year, you'll be wearing just black trunks and black boots. You don't want to look different, but you're not allowed to do so. Yeah.
Same as today.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, even last week's Korakuen, this first match, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Great match.
New guys, the two really young. It was like they had a couple matches at Korakuen. Yeah.
Like a second, third match. Aren't they good though?
They're exceptionally good for if that's their first match. I mean, even their look, you can tell
how they work out at the dojo too. I mean, like I just thought that match, the first match, the opening match, 10-minute match, it's just greatest thing I've watched in a while. Oh God,
these young lions
are good.
I really, really like all the young lion matches.
I like that their matches are so good right now.
It must be. I always ask. I'm like, is it the Shibata's training? Is it the training style that's doing this? Is it the
But they're
guys?
talented guys too.
Sure, but there's a lot. I mean, the new crop, especially the Fredericks and Clark Connors and Alex Coughlin, that the Shibata's three from the States, they're really talented. Really talented.
Shibata does not give an inch. Oh. Because that's what was done to him, and that's what made him, and he's gonna do the same to you,
Yeah, but it seems so far like it's a success. I think. I mean, these guys.
Oh yeah, including rookie Americans. Oh, they're so talented, so talented
and young.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, watch out for injuries.
Of course, yeah.
And also, some of these New Japan rookie has a tendency that your first 2 years so good, and all of a sudden you kind of lose it. You know what I'm saying?
Is that true?
Not losing it, but like either not as motivated, or it's like a disappointment in them, or it just doesn't have as much fire as your rookie years.
Disillusioned, not their expectations.
Somewhat, yeah, because you have to be expecting what you will be doing 5 years from now or 10 years from now. That's wrestling, It's not like going to school and you'll be graduating in 3 years.
Right.
This is gonna be your career, You'll be doing it when you were 25. You'll be doing it when you're 30. You should be doing it when you're 35. Maybe you are still doing it when you're 40.
It's like like anybody, like a chef goes to culinary school, an electrician, this is what you do.
Or like you're a guitar player.
Sure, you go to a special.
When you're 25, you're actually really, really good, right? Are you gonna be as motivated as you were when you were 35? It depends on the person, right?
Sure, but generally, it's not. I don't know, but I know what you mean, and the point is I think depending on it really. At the end of the day, it's up to the person and whomever they choose. And it seems like...
All right, today we're talking about Three Musketeers, Muto, Chono, Hashimoto, but we'll fast forward a little bit. Somebody like Satoshi Kojima, he was not all that special when he was a young lion. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
At the dojo. I mean, they didn't think he was going to be as big a star as he turned out to be.
And he was never booked in a position like we could expect him. He was always booked in lower level singles or tag matches, and
or he did not have this, that the amateur athletic background. Like all these guys are like a high school amateur wrestling national champion, or the holding record in the truck running, or you're the prefecture judo champion, something like that, right? Kojima, well, he's played all the sport in high school, of course, everybody does, these people, but he did not have anything special in it. But somehow, after 10 years, he was in higher ranked superstar than the other people who were better prospects at the time. You know what I'm saying? It happens. And people like, Shinjiro Otani, he was really, really good the first year. Then he had slump for a few years, Then he became somebody. Then he left New Japan with Hashimoto to become the man for 0-1. This is like different wrestlers have different paths to have success, And because you never know. So some of these young lions, most of these young lions are equally talented, huh?
It seems so, yeah.
Yeah, but you never know how they're gonna turn out to be, For instance, Jay White was not all that special when he was in dojo. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and probably Dave Finlay. If you compare Dave Finlay and Jay White, they're best friends. All right, but at dojo, people thought Dave Finlay was much better.
I think I remember because they were in the same class, I believe. And
same class. Yeah,
I was in Japan around that time, and I don't know if I seen them at a show, but they were always around the ring, and it seemed like everybody would be talking about Finley because of his father. We didn't know Jay White yet.
Right, that too. But he was a good wrestler, and he had already had certain presence, and whereas Jay White looked like just a guy. Cute little guy.
He looked very young. If you look at pictures now, even now, it's pretty amazing.
Young, yeah, that's why he had to grow his whisker, I guess. But so he didn't look like he was going to be that special, so you don't know. You will never know how this person will turn into.
The fans usually make that decision.
Yeah, but it's how it's a package thing. He himself, and also that he's booked a certain way, or he's developed a certain way, and all the video vignette and all these things that switchblade coming, they did not show him, and so people anticipated who is going to be the switchblade guy. Then he shows up with longer hair and a new costume, new presence, new look, and new attitude. He start working like a main event guy. Then you will pretty soon be really main event guy. And it's like a really, really that works with some people, though it doesn't work with some people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was the same system in late 80s that after they came back from international tours, Keiji Muto became star version of Keiji Muto. Masahiro Chono became star version of Masahiro Chono. And Hashimoto, more of a fighter style guy, kicks, a little bit heavy, but he was equally popular because Muto and Masahiro Chono is more cool guy, right? But Shinya Hashimoto is the one who shows most emotion, in the ring. He can kick, he'll cry, he'll smile. He shows his emotion in the ring.
He also, to me as a viewer, I feel like Muto and Chono, they fit in with any other great pro wrestlers from the States or in England or in Canada.
The style, yeah.
But with Hashimoto, he had, in Japan especially...
Very domestic, huh?
Domestic, like a Japanese Budo feeling or style or things that you appreciate about martial arts necessarily, that he brought it to pro wrestling context.
And evidently Shinya Hashimoto did not really click much with international talent, right?
That's right, because I don't think they knew how to market it to this audience. It has to be kind of not explained, but set up. Masahiro Chono and Muto had another program with Americans, Vader,
Bigelow, the Tony Holm, the Scott Norton, or people like Brian Pillman, Steve Austin before he was Steve Austin. There's a lot of
Sting
WCW.
and
Oh yeah, yes. So
they
Muto
spoke
could
the
work
same
on-
language, I guess you could say. And
Yeah.
Shinya Hashimoto had
Right.
he was doing something.
Shinya Hashimoto against Choshu, Shinya Hashimoto against Kensuke Sasaki, Shinya Hashimoto against Chono and Muto, of course. Yeah, Shinya Hashimoto against Fujinami. All those things would work. So some of these, you have J-pop, right?
Mhm.
So some of these people only listen to Japanese rock or
Right.
Japanese enka, probably.
And yeah, I think so.
Yeah, very much enka, don't you think? Hashimoto was.
I think so, and I think, but we should note that while this was going on, while he was coming up, there was the UWF and kind of proto
more
MMA boom.
believability. Yeah.
But I don't think Hashimoto was exactly like that group. He had his own. He did something that was a little bit. It pulled from both areas, from pro wrestling
Yeah,
and
because then
martial arts.
like New Japan fans believed in Hashimoto. If Hashimoto was sent to UWF, he'll beat Maeda and Takada. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Yeah. So he had this certain aura about him.
And that
Yeah.
kind of ended with the whole Naoya Ogawa thing, which that's what happened. Like
Year 2000.
in the late 98 to 2000, after
right,
that
right.
was kind of we got to kind of back up and talk about Hashimoto a little more before we get to that point, because that was different. That was a different time.
Yeah, right.
But Hashimoto went to Memphis too,
Naoya,
didn't he?
yeah. To add to that,
Oh, yeah,
Naoya Ogawa, the national judo champion, the Olympic gold medal judo champion, turning into pro wrestler, was more like an alien. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Coming from other space, and Inoki took him under his wing, to make him into a kind of MMA-ish, pro wrestling-ish, money-making superstar. Then they used Hashimoto, destroy Hashimoto, that Ogawa would be the overnight sensation, which worked, So
But he was
I think
sacrificed for that.
Yeah, Hashimoto was a victim of circumstance, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he was the first of those sacrifices from New Japan to the MMA world. We saw it with that,
pretty
and then
much.
it happened later on with other non Three Musketeers guys. But
But Muto wouldn't do it. He's too smart. Chono wouldn't go into MMA ring and win or lose. It's better not to do it. You know what I mean?
Chono would end up focusing more on his personality and his character.
And then the first 10 years babyface, and the rest of the career black costume, black charisma, Japanese, cool guy heel type deal. Yeah.
Totally, though, from white to black.
Yeah, and he's a kakoi guy, right?
Mm-hmm. But before, he was kind of the ace pupil. He was the Luthez trained, like a top guy.
And then his Finnish STF step over Toho was crossface was given to him by Luthez. The whole video vignette, everything was produced, and he's winning every summer G1 Climax winner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also second annual G1 Climax was also NWA World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. At final, Chono beats Ravishing Rick Rude to get the Ric Flair belt. Becomes very believable superstar. You know what I'm saying?
And for a couple years, that was the last image of that title was Chono wearing it before it came back. Whenever
as the gold belt, you mean?
Yeah, it seems like.
It was really deceiving at the time that not much was reported in both languages. That WCW was calling that top title either WCW World Heavyweight title or NWA World Heavyweight title for a while, and it was separate ways, right? Then all of a sudden it's only WCW World Heavyweight title. But the very same design, Ric Flair gold belt came to Japan and became an NWA World Heavyweight title. Well, later on that was brought back and dropped to somebody like Barry Windham. But it was a really confusing time too, because New Japan and WCW had this partnership. Yeah.
Yeah, it was confusing on English TV too. I think that's
right.
part of the reason why it didn't get any farther than it did. It was a lot bigger of a deal in Japan.
if Chono brought the belt back to America and then spent year or 2 or 3 years there, then he'll be in WWE in a package, the WCW package. But it was just always short tour, Yeah. If this NWO thing a little bit later on, it was like NWO Japan and what's happening in Nitro was 2 different NWO, right? But if he traveled more and spent more time in American television, maybe the NWO storyline was a little bit different.
Yeah. I bet, yeah. I think that's where a lot of people really started, at least in the States, started to connect with Chono, especially, after Starrcade 95 especially. It was the guy, the sunglasses, the long coat. It was a very distinct look for the time. Very memorable.
Okay.
And
and then he comes right out of Japanese animation, right?
Something
Almost.
or a movie, yeah, or like the future. He looked like what was it, like a Blade Runner or something.
Blade Runner or Matrix or
sure, yeah, something like that, exactly. And later he would show up on Nitro, and he would get his own short but special segment. Scott Norton would too, but it was presented differently because Norton was from the States. And he but Chono
and
was
also he had full time deal with Japan too. So
that's right, and they never talked about it on the air, so nobody really understood.
No, so it's confusing, very confusing.
But when Chono would be on the screen, he would always be the focus.
So you felt that the Chono was somebody special?
Very much so. Very much. I remember there was I forget which event it was, but they had a lot of the New Japan stars in the crowd at a table with Eric Bischoff and Sonny Ono, and they were all eating sushi. It was a pay-per-view.
Cliche.
Yeah. They were all. It was maybe Hashimoto was there too, Masahiro Saito, and it was like they were preparing for a Starrcade. I can't. If anybody out there is listening and can remember which pay-per-view that was, I don't think it was a Nitro or anything, but yeah, that's what they did. But the images of Chono, especially for me personally, you always remember him. Even I don't know if he got on the mic or anything, but just the look and the way he wrestled, the way he would pose. He would push and shove people and flex his muscles. You don't see that. It was just he had his own style.
Yeah,
it was distinct.
And also, see, when you watch Keiji Muto, it's obviously like a superb athlete, right? Like out of this world athlete. Like he's so coordinated. Like he's like huge. Just Keiji Muto is genuine athlete, right? Whereas Chono actually is the only Japanese wrestler at the time who does the storytelling wrestling match. Did you know that?
Yeah, it makes sense. It seems like that. He's not somebody you look at and you were expecting.
See, Muto is like a genuine athlete. He does moonsault and all these things, And then a good, of course, storytelling match too. And Hashimoto strikers, punch, kick, and chops. And what's so special about Chono was that he a lot of the 80s and 90s Japanese wrestling was like a very much high spot oriented, remember? I mean, like a high spot oriented, like big moves, false finish, 1, 2, and then just one high spot after another. But the Chono was the only wrestler around that time period who brought that back to very basic working body part match.
Almost like a traditional All Japan style, you could say.
Or
NWA 1970s.
Where he got it was Kansas City. Did you know that?
From,
he worked Central State, Bob Geigo and Bob Brown. This old dude, Bulldog Bob Brown, doesn't do anything much in the ring, but when you watch Bulldog Bob Brown match, it looked like a lot of things happened in 20-minute match. He didn't do much at all. And Chono sat and think, it's like, you don't need 10 big moves to have storytelling 25-minute match. It's how you lay things out. And he was the only one doing this very veteran 70s American style he learned from Kansas City, and he brought that back to Japan. Did you know he is the only wrestler in history that first move and finish are the same move? You know what I'm saying? His finish is Kenka kick, Yakuza kick, right?
Mm-hmm. And he often
first leave the SDF out for a second. Yeah, I'll get to that. But you know, the kenka kick, the yakuza kick, the big boot to the face. That's the move first thing he does when he gets in the ring, boom. And when he goes, take it home for the finish, he used that move. Nobody in wrestling history used same finish at the beginning and in the finish.
So I guess it's not a finish if it's at the beginning. It's just it's his.
Yeah, but he is the only wrestler used the big boot at the beginning, very beginning. The first thing he does in the ring, and last thing he does in the ring.
It really made
not
you.
Too many, not too many people notice that.
Yeah, it forced you to pay attention to what he was doing. Because
I guess, yeah.
If you didn't, you might miss the whole story.
Like you said, you don't use that move first if it was your finish. See, the Yakuza Kenka kick is to go home, right?
Should be, yeah.
So you wouldn't be using that at the beginning of the match. But he went ahead and used that at the very first move to do and very last thing to do. That's his original. Okay, go back and watch old Chono's match. That he's the only one in the whole world who does that. I mean, maybe that people haven't noticed this thing yet, really, for the past 20 years.
That's his signature, huh?
Yeah, that the first thing he does is Yakuza kick, and last thing he does the Yakuza kick. Well, yeah, that the STF, that like John Cena's FU move.
STFU, yeah.
Yeah, STFU, yeah. But that's the ruthless move. But the submission day, yeah, he wins. He wins the match with that. But when he uses STF as a finish, the entire match is leading into the STF. You work on the guy's leg, guys in the back of the knees, back, the lower back or back the knee, or what do you call it? The chop blocking or other things to do working on the body part.
Like Bret Hart would do that.
Yeah, then keep working on the body parts. Therefore, when you finally go into your STF, people will really pay attention. That's what he was doing the entire match. Then go into the finish, a very believable finish.
He had a clear strategy. He would show his strategy.
That's how. Then no fancy moves. He only does just few things in the ring, but by doing very little, he really does a lot. Today's wrestler, maybe somebody like Edge, maybe is the only one does that. Yeah, because even WWE today, it's pretty much big move oriented. Yes. The younger, the more moves. And when you go back, like a very recent SummerSlam, Edge against Seth Rollins, that's the type of match. They only exchange maybe 4 moves, with each other. Other than that, elbow to the back of the head, because Edge has bad neck. Everybody knows it. So you pull down elbow and punch back of your head and kick, stomp, all these things, but not much moves. And the only thing they did was a spear and catch spear into pedigree, and your what do you call it? Not the Nagata rock, but the yes lock kind of thing.
The crossface. Yeah,
crossface move, but you let them go in there or you block it. Just by doing this Nagata lock or yes lock thing, it just you can spend 10 minutes doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, you pound your, Edge pounding Seth Rollins' face onto the canvas, then give real, serious looking face lock, sleeper hold thing to go home, right? Not many moves, but very much storytelling, huh?
There was, it's hard to, it wasn't piece by piece. It wasn't just a series of moves happening. Everything kind of connected to itself. Yeah, because
think about like to the extreme. I mean, I'm going to use this extreme example. In Dragon Gate's match, you'd be doing 40 moves by then. You know what I'm saying?
It's a different pace, and I guess it's a different.
Totally different cooking.
Yeah, different it's a different dish. Yeah.
Oh, different dish. Yeah. So I use that as an extreme. So some of these matches, they're doing 30 different high flying, high spot moves. They are kicking out at the counter too. Then for a wrestling fan like myself, like a real old fashioned older guy, I completely forget what I was watching. Yeah.
Well-
because they gotta kick out the spectacular move, save it for next week or something, but they just keep kicking out, right? Kick out, kick out, kick out, kick out. Kind of like you go into a big hotel restaurant buffet or something. You take up so much food that you don't remember what you just had.
You
know
build
what
up
I'm
a
saying?
tolerance or something. It's
Yeah, when you have just a piece of some good ribeye steak and potatoes and a little bit of, just that, and it was a good meal.
if the ingredients are right.
Yeah, that's what Chono's move was, like wrestling was, and it made him very special. See, not much fancy moves like Muto can do, but he wouldn't. Chono just does these very old-fashioned wrestling. Therefore, maybe that fans with less experience or like not so educated eyes on wrestling may appear kind of boring, huh? But for real, like I wouldn't say educated, but the real wrestling fans paying attention to move, match, move by move, the entire match, that Chono does tell stories within this this one match. Yeah.
That's what he offered that, and if you had to pick a match that really exemplifies that storytelling that Chono does in that way, if you could think of anything that comes to mind off the top of your head.
Though, that every single Hashimoto Chono match was like that, because in casual fans' eyes, Hashimoto would kick his ass
because his character is the martial artist,
kicking and chopping and all this hard hitting, striking thing. Well, he'll kick Chono's ass, but he will somehow block it and kick back the Chono's knee or something, and change the sequence, and does this very old-fashioned things on the mat, and all of a sudden it looks like a Chono's match.
Naturally, organically.
Yeah, that's his ingredient. And yeah, Tokyo Dome match, that the Great Muta against Chono, the title change, that was good too. NWA title change.
And
a lot of good Chono match, but you have to be somewhat educated, and also you have to be type of fan that enjoy that kind of match. If you really love spectacular moves and the big high spot, Chono might not be it.
But on one hand, though, there are a couple of those Chono matches where it's a different template. He's not doing the full length storytelling match. He's going for, like, I think of the match he had at, I think it was at Tokyo Dome with Vader, where it was really short, but it was really like he really, it was more of an emotion match. It was more seeing, we got to see Chono's guts against Big Van Vader.
In like, just like Hashimoto situation, in casual fans' eyes, Vader is gonna kick his ass, right? I mean, obviously bigger, fatter a little bit, but like a big
Inoki,
guy. Yeah, and he's the greatest big man wrestler. So big, not quite ultimate warrior bodybuilder body, but the thick, athletic, big football player type, and they hit you, then hit you real hard, and Chono took it, and that was his, that was interesting.
So he could really adapt in those kind of moments.
Well, he's a New Japan Dojo, wrestler after all, and just that decided not to do fancy moves all that much. He's not high spot oriented. He's more of a storytelling match guy, and or the athletic move, that will let Muto do it. And and Chono was more of a strategic wrestler, I guess. Yeah, I should say.
How about Chono's time earlier when he was in Germany? He did train in Germany for a bit, or wrestle in Germany.
Yeah, and then also he enjoyed. That's where he met his wife, and he really enjoyed the European aspect of like working in the same building for 30 days in a row, and working in like a circus tent, and living in a trailer home, and yeah, that's it was very interesting. Yeah, they all did that, and yeah, like Chris Benoit was with him in the tour. They worked Europe, and yeah, there is no such thing as European this tour thing. After Otto Vance pretty much retired, in Germany you have a lot of domestic wrestling companies, but they don't run wrestling like old-fashioned European style. It's more like a German wrestler doing American wrestling now.
Like independent, basic. It's based on what's going on now. It's also
pretty much, yeah, in German language, and the British wrestler come in, and it's not really British style like you would think, like Tony St. Clair or Johnny Saint or Billy Robinson, old style. Just in up to the 70s and 80s, maybe even into early 90s, European wrestler looks like European wrestler. They works like European guy. Like a lot of wrestlers works like William Regal. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah, that kind.
They didn't look like bodybuilders. They didn't look like particularly like a WWF wrestler, like a big mega superstar.
They just
over
really
the top.
wrestle like you're a magician.
Yeah, but they looked like an everyday, blue collar kind of guy.
Yeah, and then the regular guy hairdo.
Sure, yeah, and the mustache, if like Rollerball Rocco.
Yeah, and short trunks and wrestling boots.
Yeah, basic. Not too unlike the Young Lions. It's the mentality. I mean,
yeah,
it's keeping it basic.
Who resembles most is maybe like a guy like Finn Balor. He's about it. Yeah,
kinda, but he's also
WWE wrestler for sure, and New Japan wrestler.
I never saw any of the wrestlers from England or Europe around that time as in shape as he was. Their bodies are completely, I think back then it was more of a natural body, natural organic diet. Yeah,
Look at Otto Vance was like
he's a big guy,
like a sumo wrestler shape, Yeah, and also back then up to early 90s, European wrestlers didn't travel to America.
Right, it was just limited to those circuits that they were on.
Yeah, and that was so. But that made it really unique, Yeah. Different music.
Chono picked up some essence or nuance from there.
Yeah.
And like you said, he met his wife. How do you meet his wife there?
Over there, when they were living in Germany.
And she was coming to the shows?
I don't know the details, but at the same time that Chris Benoit met his first wife too. Yeah. And it was really different because in the same building, 30 days in a row, you are running wrestling like a sumo tournament, every night at the same building. Can you imagine?
It's different.
The tournament going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. It has a different effect. It's not like a WrestleMania feeling. It's not like one big event happening all at once. It's
like going sumo wrestling tournament for 15 days.
Yeah, or watching the Olympics or something.
But different matchup every night though.
Yeah,
and the tournament going, long tournament. Yeah, and the title match and the important matches are like round rules, 5-minute round, 1 round, and 10 rounds, or 7-minute 1 round for 8-round match or something like that. And yeah, in wrestling, round rules is like only in Europe. Very different. We did have that in Japan a little bit though.
With you mean with the UWF companies and
no Ricky Dawson era.
Oh, and the original JWA.
Yeah, and every spring there was a tournament called World League tournament. The official tournament match was like your 8-minute 1 round, 5-round match or something. American wrestlers did that too.
And I've seen some of it recently on the NXT UK show, but again, like you said, it's a lot different.
Very different. Very different. Well, Walter from NXT UK, he's built like European guy.
Very much so. He's a throwback in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And all he does is big chop.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
also, he doesn't do all that much, like Chono we were talking about in terms
Yeah,
of.
by not doing much, he does a lot. So it's hard to explain in word. You have to feel it, or even wrestlers don't get it, And see WWE wrestlers, when somebody's like, see Randy Orton or Edge or somebody is working in the ring, right? All the young guys are watching that match and studying it, And it's just these, rhythm and the storytelling thing just cannot be taught, Either you do it, succeed, or don't know how to do it, Yeah.
It might have to do with the audiences too. There are different expectations these days.
Right.
And about Chono, I think he had like Muto, also had a good idea of just being on TV, not just thinking about wrestling in the ring, but wrestling for television.
Yeah, of course. And then Muto's presence, Chono's presence, Hashimoto's presence. There are the three musketeers, but they're all different, very different. That's why all three of them. That's why they're successful. They never really worked as unit or trio, like 6-man tag teams. They only had a handful of 6-man tag team together, but they were categorized as Three Musketeers, always.
New generation.
And that the trio superstar, any of these Muto, Chono, Hashimoto, any of these one of these superstar can main event tonight.
And they seem to need it around then, because All Japan was also pretty competitive and pulling in a lot of people to their shows with their core of 4 people.
That was the last when Three Musketeers was becoming a superstar in the main event of New Japan. It was still Jumbo defending company though.
Even the
Jumbo
early 90s,
yeah. Jumbo wouldn't leave. He had hepatitis and also went back to college to get his master and all these things, but he wouldn't leave until like 92, 93. So 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, Jumbo was standing like a big wall in front of Misawa and all these people. Yeah, still. And also Tenryu was still around. Tenryu had to beat Jumbo to be the real main event,
So then how about by around, 1993? This is when Tokyo, they had a big Tokyo Dome show that year. And this was also when Muto was
Three
back.
Musketeers plus 2 is Hashimoto, Muto and Hashimoto and Chono, Three Musketeers superstars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Chono and Riki Choshu and Tatsumi Fujinami is still around. But there was 2 guns that Riki Choshu's top guys, Kensuke Sasaki and Hiroshi Hase, merged into the main event cluster.
Yes. Yeah.
Remember?
That's right. Yeah.
So it's like 5 big guns now.
Yeah. But they're not the Musketeers. Both those two had different paths.
Everybody
knows
that's Choshu boy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was Choshu's. He's the outsider. He was the outsider when he was in All Japan as well. He would just come. He would come in and he would kind of flip things faction on their. Yeah, it was about what he wanted to do.
Yeah, and Kensuke Sasaki and Hiroshi Hase. Yeah, this is like a new top 2 guns, and Kensuke Sasaki always works like young Choshu.
He looked like he was meant to be the junior version of him, but he ended up getting physically a lot bigger. They had the same haircut for a long time too.
Yeah, clothesline and all that. Yeah. Then in 93, 94, 95, 96, Kensuke Sasaki becomes Power Warrior to team up with Hawk Warrior for the Hellraisers. See, for some people, people who watched Dark Side of Wrestling documentary or these things, they didn't really emphasize how big Hellraisers was. Remember? They did the documentary on Road Warriors and Road Warrior Hawk and Animal talking about things from his perspective, and the Hellraisers was treated like the Hawk went to Japan and cut his own deal. Then they stole the gimmick kind of thing. Well, if you look at it from America, yes, that maybe that's how it looks like. But in Japan, Hawk Warrior came to Japan and signed the exclusive contract with New Japan and take up on Kensuke Sasaki to be his full-time partner, American superstar and Japanese superstar, actually making a tag team for the first time and full-time basis and become this version of Road Warriors. They didn't call it Road Warriors because Hawk didn't want it, because Road Warriors means hawk and animal, But so they came up with the name Hellraisers. But that's another subject for another day. But Hellraisers, Hawk, and Power Warrior Kensuke Sasaki was really, really a big hit in mid-90s. So I have to defend that.
Huge deal for Sasaki's career too.
Oh God, yes, yeah, that will put him into main event cluster. And also they developed their own opponent too. If you remember Scott Norton and Hercules Hernandez.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kensuke Sasaki and Hiroshi Hase had a program against people like Steiner Brothers. Great match, And they brought in people like Sting, the WCW package. They were all good. And Hiroshi Hase, Kensuke Sasaki were developing into main event cluster. By then, actually, Hiroshi Hase was already assistant booker in the company, right underneath Riki Choshu. So he sacrificed himself. Real smart worker.
Where did Hashimoto's career start to kind of twist from this end, from the mid-90s? Because it kind of bent it in a different way. I think
it was not until that Naoya Ogawa.
Yeah, that was the big turning point for him. It was a huge.
I think so.
For all of pro wrestling, I think in Japan, that was
because like I said, that Naoya Ogawa is the type of wrestler who wouldn't start from first match. He wouldn't be Young Lion. He wouldn't live in dojo. He is like your
athlete superstar.
Kurt Angle, or what's the Stevenson who signed? Just signed.
Oh, Gable Stevenson.
Yeah, he was signed, right? He is not gonna be your first match guy.
Mm-mm.
When he debuted, from the day one, he will be treated as a star. Naoya Ogawa is the same way. The gold medal guy in judo and an Olympic star and all that, turned into professional wrestler with tightened boots. That you will be treated in main event. Yeah.
So that's where I think the pivot point in Hashimoto's career happened with it. I guess that lasted almost 2 years, it seemed like.
Yeah, and then also Anthony Inoki himself, took side with Naoya Ogawa,
Yeah, New Japan really started to change from there. And this is kind of where we saw that.
Yeah.
Where would you say
thinking,
the
right?
Three Musketeers? Where would you say this kind of? Ogawa, the Naoya Ogawa bit, and Muto and Chono were also.
Muto. I don't think there was Ogawa against Chono match ever. Do you remember? Was there
against Chono? No, I don't think so. I think around this time both Chono and Muto were in the States more often.
That too, but there was a very significant, very important match that it was probably Ogawa's second match, professional second match, but it was already a main event. That Keiji Muto, had a single match against Naoya Ogawa, but he chose to have Great Muta character for that match instead of Keiji Muto, the wrestler.
Okay.
Yeah. Then he did what Great Muta would do and played with it. The mist of from your mouth, or stealing judo belt from the Ogawa's judo jacket. They put the judo belt around his neck and play with him, and all these only happens in wrestling kind of rule breaking thing, and he really played with it. Very smart way. You know what I'm saying?
And it was pretty different from how Hashimoto approached those kind of matches.
Oh, Hashimoto would end up playing Ogawa's game. So honest,
Yeah.
Muto wouldn't go in there and get beat, by his judo. He would be Great Muta and do what Great Muta would do, and green mist from your mouth. Ogawa is the one who has to stand there and take it. Very smart.
Yeah, and it seems like, I suppose Hashimoto really didn't have a choice,
Right.
He had to prove.
Oh, perfect victim, huh?
It seems like it. Seemed like he was. Yeah, absolutely.
But what we cannot forget about this is even in wrestling, the match result matters. You lose to a certain guy, and people will remember and associate it with that. But he lost to this guy, right?
And you always, that's what I remember.
Who beat who? Yeah.
It just looks.
Everybody think it's entertainment and it's like smarter fans or internet fans and all these things like know-it-all people talk about wrestling. But at the end of the day, the result of the match outcome still matters. Agree?
I think so. Oh, definitely. Yeah. It has an effect on people's psyche.
And the wrestlers' career too. You lost to certain guys, Yeah.
Especially at that time where it was reality and wins and losses meant even more than they probably do today. There was
so it was like Naoya Ogawa, rookie, but has to be in the main event ring. It came in like a big alien. You know what I'm saying?
But believable because of his background.
Oh, of course, and big guy too.
And there was no MMA really. I mean, there was, but it wasn't like now, like it's a regular thing. It wasn't something in pro wrestling people saw regularly.
But first few matches, he was wearing judo gi. And so he's like Olympic gold medal guy being in the wrestling ring. That's already interesting, And people don't expect to have your hip toss or your body, body slam or drop kick or anything like that. He would be in there fighting professional wrestler. And that's like really pretty much reality, oriented. He wouldn't be doing wrestling moves like wrestlers do, but he is a tough guy and he might beat Muto. That's how they think. And Keiji Muto doing great Muto thing was so smart, whereas Hashimoto went in there and got kind of victimized, huh?
And things were a lot different. I mean, he was definitely connected to Ogawa more so than Chono and Muto after this.
But what's interesting is, though, after this, the fiasco, I should say, Ogawa and Hashimoto became friends. I mean, in real life.
Right, and they even would do...
They went into 0-1 and hustle together.
As like a tag team.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? If something happens, something like a shoot situation happens, and they sat down and thought about it, and then it's like who was responsible behind it? It was all Antonio Inoki calling it, right? Probably. And then Hashimoto ended up leaving, and he made his own 0-1 company, and Ogawa pretty much started working for 0-1 company, and the 0-1 roster started working for Hustle, and Ogawa ended up wearing this professional wrestling costume and it just became pro wrestler in heart. It was a very interesting twist,
So what were the main reasons for Hashimoto leaving New Japan and starting 0-1?
It was the confrontation between wrestler Hashimoto and Booker Choshu.
And did that have anything to do with the Ogawa program, or was it separate from that, or?
Probably though, Booker Choshu, the sole booker in the dressing room, giving people finish, right? He could not control Inoki Ogawa combination as he should be. See, Inoki comes into dressing room. Who's the boss? You know what I'm saying?
Right, I see.
It's really hard, but because everyday, day-to-day wrestling business, Riki Choshu is a booker. He's the boss. He's the locker room leader. He's giving everybody finish. Inoki does not travel with wrestlers, but he shows up at some important night. He comes into dressing room. It's very confusing. Who is the boss?
Inoki's similar, like a Vince McMahon type character behind the scenes.
And Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan in one.
In one, yeah.
Yeah, in one.
Only him. Only he could do that.
Only him. And also, if he wanted to, he probably wanted to work in the ring,
He did eventually.
Yeah. He didn't. After 98 retirement match, he was the only one who never made comeback.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Inoki's the only one who never made
Inoki,
comeback.
yeah.
Yeah, most people do come back though. Because how many times Ricky Choshi retired? You know,
Quite a few, and
and then people like it's different, but Onita retired 10 times in making comeback.
Terry Funk.
Oh, of course, yeah. So the Roddy Piper, for that matter, Randy Savage, you know. So retire is the word retiring is used so
Meaningless
loosely.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, or retire meaning like go to bed for the night, you know.
Yeah, retire for the night.
Yeah, but for Anthony Inoki's value orientation, once he retired, he did not make comeback. He never took his shirt off. But instead, he kept showing up in the building and being influential, though. Remember, he eventually went on and become exclusive figurehead, exclusive producer for Pride, right? Yeah.
He went and did his own special Bomaye shows.
Inoki Bomaye show. So his interest over this millennium time, he was not into traditional pro wrestling. Instead, he sensed it. What's in is MMA now. Yeah.
And that's when K1 was massive. That's when Pride took over.
And Bomayen and every New Year's Eve. 3 different network channels was running all 3 different programs of all same looking MMA show on Channel 4, Channel 6, Channel 8. Remember that time?
It was huge, and it seemed to affect the pro wrestling business.
Oh God, yeah. For about 6-7 year period.
If not more. I mean,
therefore, dark age of professional wrestling.
Yeah, it was the rise of MMA because this was the only time that there was a counter to UFC. Because Pride and UFC were pretty equal footing at the time. Maybe Pride was a little bit bigger at these times too. That's how big Pride was. I mean, they were running the Tokyo Dome too.
And also American fighter, Russian fighter, European fighter, Brazilian fighters, and some Japanese fighters. It's like a very international oriented MMA, you know, and some professional wrestlers too.
Very big production.
Or people like Bob
too.
Sapp.
Yes, like a pro wrestling.
The product of the time. A product of the time. Yeah.
It did have a WWE type huge production feel. There was a huge production.
Oh, the
flashy
entrance, ramp and laser beams and music and the dome type of show.
Yeah, over the
top. 50,000 people, the mega production. Yeah. Yeah, that was like, the time I don't, remember so fondly.
It was a different time. Yeah.
Yeah. But so maybe that we covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, I think that's a good general way of thinking about the Three Musketeers because after the Ogawa Hashimoto pivot, that's also when Muto would go on to All Japan. Chono would stick around.
He spent 1 year in America. Muto.
Right, with WCW.
Yeah, Muto in the year 2000, 99 into 2000. He was in WCW full time. He had an apartment in America, and he was just testing water. He got, should I come back to New Japan? Still technically under New Japan contract, but he wouldn't work Japan anymore. He didn't like what he was seeing. I ain't going. And then he spent a whole year in dying days of WCW. Yeah. By then, Hashimoto was already gone from New Japan.
And he had 0-1. He had his own company.
0-1 started, yeah. And 2 years later, Booker Choshu ended up leaving New Japan, and they formed another kind of ill-fated, short-lived wrestling company called Double J, World Japan Pro Wrestling. Remember?
With Sasaki.
And then Masa Saito and Tenru joining, and then Hiroshi Hase worked a little bit, and it only lasted about a year. Yeah.
It was big for a few months, and it really fizzled out.
Yeah, but it was like the Big Bang crush that New Japan was destroyed and divided into 5 different groups or something.
And Chono stayed with the main New Japan proper.
Yeah, right. And became senior producer, pretty much.
And he wrestled less and less. around this time.
Yeah, and then also became TV commentator at the World Pro Wrestling TV Asahi show.
And is still doing that even this year.
Yeah, guest commentator sometimes. Yes,
Not just New Japan too. Noah and
other things. Yeah, because he's famous. He's
he can do what he wants.
Yeah, pretty much like your Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, or somewhat John Cena type celebrity.
I always, when I lived in Tokyo, I always saw him in the advertisement for local ramen shop or even McDonald's a couple years ago. He did like a mixed shrimp commercial. He did some kind of mixed shrimp commercial or campaign.
The convenience store, like a Family Mart. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he had a lot of commercial, and also he has his own line of clothing. Aristo Toristo.
And there's one other thing. Well, his it's not his daughter, but alpha female. Kind of his she's also a pro wrestler too, German pro wrestler, and kind of like
he was in Great May Young tournament too.
That's right, the first one.
Yeah, and she still wrestles in Germany too. Chono's wife, Matilda-san, Martina-san, and the alpha female are like a daughter, like a mother-daughter type relationship. I mean, German person coming to Japan and live, it's like, well, to come over and stay with us kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Then Chono is a different type of businessman. I mean, he is being Masa Chono, even to this day. He hasn't had a wrestling match in 3 or 4 years, 5 years maybe, but he is now officially retired.
Yeah, he's always in the media somewhere. He's on those
quiz show
or the variety comedy shows.
Yeah, the late night show or like a quiz show. He's answering quiz, panel show. Yeah, even the late night comedian shows. Yeah.
Somebody like the Miz or Cody Rhodes who do a lot of non-wrestling appearances, lots and lots of media. He's one of those. Chono seemed like he's always been.
Because he's famous.
Yeah, but I think his personality is one of those things compared with the other Three Musketeers.
Because he looks like a rock star and he looks like a movie star, and he has this certain look. Yeah, and whereas Muto is just keep being a wrestling legend,
Yeah, his story is still unfolding.
Yeah, and well, maybe for him, it's the best time is yet to come, and he's the highest paid professional wrestler in Japan. Even
still,
today.
Wow.
Yeah, even still, he only wrestles 10 matches a year.
If that,
highest paid professional wrestler. And for emotional Hashimoto, he passed away at the age of 40.
Very suddenly, yeah.
Yeah. That was also the product of wrestling's dark age.
Yes, very much. That was really, I don't know. That felt. It was just different. It was just the 90s were over. That's what it felt like. It felt like that.
Yeah, right.
That great,
when
popularity
he died,
period.
Like a newspaper and sports page, announced his, Shinya Hashimoto 40 year. Is he 40 already? Kind of thing. That's like he was like young forever, Yeah, but people still talk about Shinya Hashimoto's best matches even to this date, though. Because those days, Hashimoto, Chono, Muto was wrestling was still in prime time program. They always had networks, 90-minute special on, like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock. She had very good television spot, and people grew up watching Hashimoto, Chono, and Muto. And there's 3 distinguished superstars of 90s time. And so Hashimoto passed away when he was 90, so he didn't grow old.
You mean when he was 40?
No. In his people's mind, he passed away so young that he never changed. Kind of like Bruce Lee.
He stayed the way we remember him.
Yeah.
That and
well, I would say James Dean or somebody,
Right.
Yeah.
But
so Hashimoto, when you think about Hashimoto, you have the certain visual image in your head.
Yeah, always. The image I have of him in my head is him screaming. He's always doing some kind of martial arts kia, some kind of
Kiai?
yeah,
Yeah.
kia, like letting out all of his fighting spirit. It's
Yeah, and
always
then the long white headband.
Mm.
Yeah, like a kamikaze fighter. You go in there and you might die kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he died in the ring almost, Yeah.
He was definitely the kind of like a sacrifice or a casualty of that whole time, that dark age, as we said.
Yeah. He what was like symbolic was like a he really was saying that when he was like becoming main event, coming back from like Europe, and he was just becoming a main event status. In his interview, he really said it. That's like my goosebump. That Hashimoto told the press, "I'm not gonna have long life. I'm just gonna go do this." It's like he really did not have long life. What's so scary? It was like he knew his fate or something. Really,
it's sad.
Yeah.
And
but maybe sad, but very fulfilling career too.
I mean, he's the guy, at least for me, that I associate when I think of the IWGP crown style belt. That's the Hashimoto belt.
Yeah, Hashimoto belt.
That's
second belt. Yeah.
We have the image of John Cena with his belt and Steve Austin with
spinning
his
belt.
Yeah, I think the crown style IWGP heavyweight title
second belt, right? Oh, that's Hashimoto belt.
That's definitely the Hashimoto belt to me.
Yeah,
to me.
Yeah, it's not like other wrestlers had it, like Scott Norton or Chono. Well, like Keiji Muto, how many times he won the title, but other people had it. But that second version design is Hashimoto, huh?
I think maybe to a lot of other fans, especially
for me, it was black and red striped karate pants.
Of course, those two. Yeah, the pants and the very, very taped, not just his hand, but his wrist. Taped
fist?
Yeah. So he could throw the karate chops.
Yeah. Like Ricky Dalton chops.
Mm-hmm.
And he was simple Finnish guy too, that that tombstone looking brainbuster suplex.
Yeah, falling brainbuster.
Yeah, that's all. The one finish. I mean, people don't kick out of that, And it was very like old fashioned in that way. And
his son has been wrestling for a while now.
Yeah. He has to. Yeah, he's still. People have to, think about the Daichi Hashimoto. Not to think of that's impossible. Not to think of as a, Shinya Hashimoto's son, but to become his own person, he really needs to do more now. He's been doing that over 10 years, so it's like he has his own career going, but not quite into his father's realm, of course not. And that's really like, you have to look at his son as completely separate from his father, really.
I've seen him quite a bit at Big Japan often.
Big Japan, yeah.
And the fans, they love to give him a hard time.
Of course.
I mean, it's like that. He's got to fight that the stigma of
of course,
of the name, and
then coming out with same music, might work against him. Really, a lot of things. Yeah, but let's give him credit.
He's still there. He's still there.
Yeah, he's still there and relatively young.
I think he's doing something with that Glate company soon. One of the UWF
Oh yeah,
things.
they just had a big press conference for this tournament coming up in October 10th or something. Yeah. But I hope that with this our episode of Three Musketeers, Keiji Muto and Masahiro Chono and Shinya Hashimoto, who the people who has access to New Japan World, it's worth going back to the archive and watch important single match from 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Can we be talking about this, Three Musketeers, Muto, Hashimoto, Chono, for like they're from like matches from yesterday, but these matches are all 20 to 25 years old,
And it's good timing we're talking about this now because G1 is coming up and Masahiro Chono
Now
was...
it's October thing, huh?
Well, I guess it's an
The
October thing.
pandemic, yeah, and also because of the Summer Olympic Games and the Paralympic, that the wrestling wouldn't interfere with Olympic thing and pandemic too from since last year. So they moved summer tradition G1 climax into October tradition now.
Kind of condensed style, but we'll see.
Two nights, Budokan consecutive nights, yeah. And also now that they have already announced January 4th and 5th, 2 nights at the Tokyo Dome, and January 8th at the Yokohama Arena, another huge arena.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Social distance too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
You know what I'm saying? Because pandemic ain't over.
and
But,
in Japan, it's probably worse than it's been since the beginning, right? As far as numbers go.
Yeah. And the new variant,
I don't think the
Not
Olympics
Delta,
helped.
but oh God no. But it was more political issue than the medical and health issue, and everybody knows about it. And the big election coming up, so yeah, we're in the middle of it.
Good luck.
We're lucky people who can still sit here and talk about wrestling. How's that?
That's good. I like the way that I think about that too. So,
Yeah.
so let's wrap it up today. But I think that's a good, primer on the Three Musketeers. And of
Yeah.
course, we have the whole series on Keiji Muto that we did earlier this year. If you want to go on YouTube, you can check that out, or on the
Yeah, and
Patreon
then
archives.
we're all going to All Japan Shitenno, that Big
Yes.
Four.
We will.
Misawa, Kawada, Kobashi, and Taue. Yeah.
There's a lot more details than you think. I think we'll
Yeah.
talk about it next time. We'll fill you in.
Definitely.
Okay, so how can people reach you online?
On Twitter, Fumihiko Dayo, Fumihiko Fumihiko Dayo on Twitter, or just Fumi Saito on Facebook. Please message me first. I'll friend you.
All right, and I'm at Justin M. Knipper, Knipper on Twitter. That's all for today. So, Fumi, can you take it away?
So long from Tokyo.